gods have summoned us to talk about the Sunset from Strymon.
They have. We love Strymon pedals. I don't think they make a bad one, do they?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Yes, that's
Let
next.
us judge whether or not the Sunset
Stomp coming in. No, so it's 2017 has been the year of kind of Strymon getting a bit dirty, haven't they?
Yeah, they did a bit of Riverside.
We did the Riverside earlier this year. Now we have the Sunset Dual Overdrive. So before we get into the Sunset, let's just explain for everybody out there going, what's the difference between Riverside and Sunset? Because I don't really understand why we need two distortion pedals.
Well, more is always better.
More is more.
More is more.
So we probably didn't really understand this as well as we should have when we did the Riverside demo, but the Riverside is effectively trying to emulate the kind of gains that you would get by driving an amplifier. So it has that kind of multi-stage cascading that you would find in a tube preamp within an amplifier. So that's kind of Riverside and what it's doing. Of course, Riverside works as a pedal that you would plug into an amplifier, but that's the types of tones it's trying to emulate.
Also, Riverside is amazing.
It's
and
a great
if you haven't tried a
Riverside,
Riverside, get yourself down to the river and side.
Take me to the river. A lot of the functionality that you're going to see us doing on the Sunset with regards to the favourite pedal and the noise gate and all that kind of stuff is the same as from the Riverside. But the Sunset is trying to be a more conventional distortion pedal, albeit in a typically Strymon unconventional and super clever way, which we will come to. Do you want to explain
why this is here as well?
Yeah, okay, so look, the most sensible way to look at the Sunset, which hopefully you're doing on close-up cam now, is as two pedals. So if we were to take
cleft it in twain.
Take what's a circular saw and just go straight to the middle, you would end up with pedal A, which has three different drive circuits in it, a level control, a drive control, and a tone control. And you would have pedal B with the same, basically three different drive stages, level, drive, tone control. Now, that's pretty clever in itself, and you can have pedal A, or you can have pedal B, or you can have both on.
But then you can go, I want B into A, or I want...
This could get dangerous, couldn't it?
I want A into B.
It's a good job there's no D, isn't it? Imagine the 4-button one. That would get really bad. And then, so yeah, there's a little really, really cleverly thought out switch on the back here that allows you to do A into B, B into A. Now, you know, again, perhaps seen that before on one or two other pedals, but what I've not seen before, which is cool, is parallel A and B simultaneously. So not one into the other, just two
so it's like
simultaneously.
This.
It's exactly
Rather
like that.
than like that.
So that's the switch on the back, and we'll go through that as well. It also has three different brightness stages, you know, brightness sort of levels of EQ.
Yeah, so if you rock up to like a multi-playing jam gig and you've got your Sunset in your pocket and your guitar in your back, and you're like, what's the amp at the venue? Okay, it's a Plexi, it's a little bit bright.
Yeah.
Dial it down on the Sunset.
And we worked out something mental, that if you go, well, what are all the different variants that I could get, you know, if of you know, A, B, the order they come in.
It's 145, Lee.
I think it was about 145.
Yeah, I reckon it's about 145.
Just quickly work it out. Have you seen that video of the kids in wherever they are, Indonesia
Fame.
or whatever, and
and
the teacher's going 4,968 times 1,432, and the kids have literally got this. They go like, and they go 8,956,000, whatever, and they're completely right, faster than you could do it on a calculator, and they're like 5 years old. I don't know where that is. It's a video on YouTube. You go and see it. It's the way they teach maths.
Cut out.
So that's the pedal. This switch here, which is an optional extra called the favourite switch.
Can it be the C switch?
Yeah, it could be, couldn't it? You need another one. And so what I can essentially do is create any of those 145 different combinations that I liked, and then save it
that's a keeper
as my favourite switch. And I'll show you how you do that as well. And the favourite remembers everything that you might switch, and it remembers the positions of the knobs and everything. So
that's the brilliant blending and marriage of digital with analog in a wonderful pattern.
Oh, I do love a bit of digital. Wasn't there a Keith Richards?
I'm just going to say yes.
A Cliff Richards song called "Let's Get Digital." Let's Get Physical, isn't it? Let's get digital.
And that wasn't Keith Richards.
Was it Cliff Richards?
Keith Richards.
Or was it
plays
Olivia
the Stones.
Newton-John?
Probably Olivia Newton-John.
Who was it? Was Olivia Newton-John? There's literally 3 middle-aged men sitting in the audience here, all having dirty thoughts about Olivia Newton-John at the moment. Why did I think it was Cliff Richards? Anyway.
I think Keith Richards was your original guess. I don't have no idea.
Because I blanked Cliff Richards from
More
my mind.
crack for Lee, please.
So, let's... right, what's our setup today, Mr. Rob?
I've got an MLV Pro.
MLV Pro.
Going into a Hughes and Kettner, and we're going into a Marshall Plexi.
And we're using an AB switcher on the floor. So...
Box floor.
On the box floor. So, the Hughes and Kettner is our dirty sound. Is that... The Marshall, bizarrely, is our clean sound. And sometimes we'll use both together and it will sound like this. So we've got the full plethora of amps that you might use this with. So let's start talking about the drive circuits and letting you hear them. Pedal A has effectively 3 circuits in there. One based around the type of circuit that you might typically find. They call it like a germanium style circuit. One they've called Texas, which is more typically a tube screamery type circuit, and one called treble, which is more of just a straightforward boost.
And we should say that on the Strymon blog or forum, there's an absolute ton of,
as you would expect from
information.
Strymon.
Yeah, Strymon come armed with all the information you would ever need. You
Unlike-
could probably build one once you've read all the information on the website.
It's quite interesting if you go to, say, a boutique pedal manufacturer from some small sort of village in America where they make these in their back garden, you'll typically find on the website it will say this pedal uses magic fairy dust. And that's the end of the specification.
Yeah,
magic fairy dust.
Then price. Add to PayPal
Strymon, on the
card.
other hand, there is a full dissertation on their blog as
There's
to
a test
how
that
this
you take before you buy one.
Absolutely. So if you want to read like a whole ton of stuff, go there. But anyway, better than talking about it, let's just hear it.
Wait, how much are we on?
So we are
Germanium.
right. We're just going into the Marshall. So we're just going into the clean sound like this. We are using, I will step through them so you'll see what happens. I'll probably switch over to the Hughes and Kettner to do the straightforward boosty thing, but you'll see. Anyway, here we go. That's a great bluesy tone.
That's lovely, isn't it?
So now we're just on the straightforward, the boost. They call it treble. So I will do. I think this is.
It's always difficult showing a boost on YouTube.
Let's do the Hughes and Kettner.
Okay, so just literally. I can assure you it's louder.
Well, it's driving it more, isn't it? So let's just do the. Cool. So that's what we can do on the A side. Flipping it over like a bit of old vinyl. Let's go to the B side. Perhaps I hope it's not like an album where all the crappy songs are on the B side, but let's have a look. Right. 2-stage, hard and JFET. So it's the same basic idea that we had on A. So the first two are gain circuits and the third one is a boost. So here we go.
Wow.
That sounds great.
That's immense.
That's the basic tone, I know. It's just immense.
Hit it.
Boost. Now we've got what last one, JFET boost here. Do it on the using. So I think the only one of those sounds there that didn't really work for me was this second stage, the hard thing, which I think is the more like a 80s kind of rat style. But that into the driven amp where you've got that was the only one that didn't really work for me.
It wanted to be this,
it's like
but it ended up being a bit of that.
Yeah, it's just overloading the gain. But it's certainly, I mean, you know, as you can certainly hear that as you're adding the drive, you've got that. If you've not seen our Riverside video, we tried to explain in there how the EQ and the gain were kind of linked, and that was where some of the DSP came in. So you can kind of hear as we're trying to drive the thing more, we're also getting a warmer, maybe more roundery kind of tone. If that's such a word. That's
roundery.
Roundery.
Yeah.
So you can kind of hear that again happening in the Sunset as well. Let's muck around now with this idea of piling one into another.
All right.
So I don't really know. In fact, I'm going to refer to this rather handy example settings thing that you get when you buy this. Heavy stack. Well, heavy stack was what we kind of started the demo off with. So
well, I kind of fancy a Texas 2-stage.
You want a Texas 2-stage, do you? Do you know what? I think in these instances, it's always best to just press all the buttons and see what happens. So here we go for a Texas 2-stage.
Right with the Texas.
You can always rely on a Texas 2-stage, can't you? What I am going to do is I'm going to set the A to be more like the boost, so the treble boost, and B to be like the 2-stage gain, because what that should then enable me to do is engage B as my basic sort of rhythm drive tone and then use A to push that harder to fatten it up. Or we can flip it round the other way and get my basic rhythm tone from the...
Also, let me back off the vol a little bit and
All
put
right.
it on the neck pause, and let's just...
I've done this the wrong way around, haven't I?
That's a really nice kind of push.
And then push it a bit more. Let's try and see what happens if we put the B ones first. It's quite a recess switch, so it's not
Didn't
the
you
kind
get
of
your
thing that you want to do
Strymon
on
accessible
the fly.
chopstick where you
No,
just
I
like
didn't.
slightly...
So now we're doing B first and A second. So
Okay.
let's have a look and see what happens here. So
Like a dyslexic alphabet. It's the joy of double stop bends with the Floyd Rose brother. Sounds great.
it does sound amazing.
Do you want to Les Paul it?
I will. I
Get
just
yourself
want
a
to.
tone.
I just want to. The bit that I'm interested in actually more, because I've kind of experimented with, having this pedal first and this pedal second and vice versa. But I've never ever experimented. I wouldn't even know how to without a pedal like this. Experiment with this idea of two pedals sort of simultaneously, but neither one into the other. So let's. My favourite sounds, definitely this two-stage one is a cool sound. I think I'll just go with the germanium.
And also, I'm using both amplifiers now as well, rather than
So
just the
here
one.
is actually. Would you mind if I just stay on the Marshall just for
That's
a second?
fine.
Is that which one is the
The
Marshall?
green is the Marshall.
Okay, cool.
I think. Yeah.
So here's now just the. I'll get a good sound with just the germanium on its own.
There it is.
Yeah, so that's a good sound, and then a good sound with just the two-stage on its own.
There it is.
And then we have both.
That's phenomenal.
It's really clever. I don't know if you'll hear this on YouTube, but obviously one of the things you hear when you stack one overdrive pedal into another is that kind of additional compression and that sort of sponging up, if you like, of the second distortion pedal as you're really sort of powering kind of more gain into it. This whole thing simultaneously is really, it's really weird because it's kind of adding.
It's almost
the
like creating
gain, but
a new
it's-
pedal rather than overloading anything.
It's exactly. It's still allowing. It's not doing that kind of compression thing. So it's still a very dynamic kind of tone, but with tons of gain there. It's really cool. That I think that would. I mean, that's for me. That's what the Sunset does that absolutely nothing else that I've
We
seen
haven't
does.
shown them how to get a favourite sound.
No, you're absolutely right. So let's say this was my favourite sound. I hold down the A button until it
does
comes
that.
back on, and then essentially
That's his favourite
That's
sound.
my favourite sound. So if you just so that people can hear that, remember. So say that was my favourite sound, but actually what I wanted was this is here's my just rhythm sound. Oh man, sounds great.
Yeah, it's great.
Now you're probably also thinking, God, there's not a lot of background noise there, is there? And that's because the other button here, the B button, does the noise gate, the inbuilt noise gate.
Poke it on the B.
If I hold the B button down, you'll see that this goes a funny colour now, and this top left-hand control becomes a noise gate. Yeah. So that's the noise that you would expect to get.
Can you hear that?
And then all you do is you turn the gate up until you just want to get it so it just stops.
There it is.
And that's where your noise gate should be set. And then I think I just pressed this again. And now we're back to...
But just to show, that isn't going to kill. Isn't going to kill anything.
But bear in mind, again, this is our bass tone. So just... That's monstrous. I would like to play with this myself. We haven't done the EQ control. I think it's a fairly subtle thing, but let's just get...
Well, put it on the Marshall and dial back the brightness slightly.
Okay, so let's just get a good... So this is... That's darker. And then this is the opposite. Yeah, and I think I mentioned this before, but if you wanted to use that brightness adjustment as part of a favorite sound, so you wanted your favorite side to be brighter perhaps than your rhythm sound, again, the favorite switch is remembering where everything was set as well. That's a big sounding pedal, isn't it?
It's a big sounding pedals. Because it's every pedal.
Let me have a little strummaroo with something like this.
Pull it up,
we
bro.
should probably use a Strat as well after this, just to sort of...
Well, why don't we get someone like Peter Honore to use a Strat?
If only we had an amazing Strat player that knew all the good chords.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Right, what am I doing? Now, my normal pedal board would be something like a Tube Screamery thing, but then with a boost going into it. So let me go Texasy. And then I'll use the B as the J-FET boost to boost into it. So.
That's a bit overloady, Lee.
It is a bit overloady.
Why don't we go tech?
two-stage thing. Every time that comes on, it just gets better, doesn't it?
That's your favourite?
Yeah, I don't. It's too much with the Hughes and Kettner as well. You've got to be quite careful, I think, how much there is the potential in this to whack too much distortion and too much level into an already driven amp. But into a clean amp, it's almost like impossible to get a back.
That's immense. I love the harmonic sounds you're getting from it.
Big sounding pedal.
Yeah, it's really big.
So let's get.
Wait, what's the financial damage?
$299. It's much the same price as the Riverside. We're using it with the Zoomer, which is you don't have to. It's just I think it just needs a high milliampage 9-volt supply. But the Zoomer is particularly good. And then there's a little Diddy version of the Zoomer called
this little mini switch is $59.95. I now summon Hita Panore to... Hey,
come on.
Sauce. Fair to say, impressed.
Very impressed.
Impressed with a capital I.
But then, would we expect anything less of Strymon, to be honest?
It must be bad being Strymon now, mustn't it?
Must be bad being everyone else.
The expectation every time a new pedal is launched from Strymon is like, well, obviously it's going to just take over the world. What else haven't we told you? I don't think there's an expression pedal input on the back. You can assign any of the parameters to work with the expression pedal. I suspect the most obvious one, and also clever Strymon, the simplest one to set up is to get the expression pedal just to be the volume control.
Volume.
But other than that, as I said, I'll put a link in the description below where you can find out more. You could purchase one if you wanted to. They are available already. And I
also just love the colour. I think it's a really beautiful colour. It just looks great. You just want it on your board. If you imagine your pedal board right now, just visualise it in your mind. Let's do it together around the world. Visualise your pedal board. And now see the Strymon on it. See the sunset blooming on your pedal board. Now you feel better about life. I've been Rob Chapman.
I've been the captain. Ooh, getting closer.
This is Rory from the UK. Tell me about Rory.
So he edits videos. Rory's awesome.